Welcome to the Geekcentric podcast, and welcome to our spoiler-free review for They Cloned Tyrone. Hey, it's Nate, and if you're joining us for the first time, we are Geekcentric, a podcast celebrating the world of movies, TV shows, toys, collectibles, gaming, and all things geek-centric. Joining me for this spoiler-free review are my fellow clones, Justin, the gene-linking Lawrence.
Hello, how are you?
Been linking those genes together?
I like jeans.
Yeah, did you ever, like, are you holes in jeans guy or no holes in jeans guy?
No
I
holes
didn't think
in
so.
jeans.
Yeah.
I don't
Okay.
like holes in jeans.
That's
Why
fair.
would I pay more money for damaged jeans? I just don't understand the thought process behind that.
And it's funny, too, because I would say you're old, but I don't think kids these days even are doing the holes in jeans thing.
Oh, kids these days do holes in jeans.
Do they do holes in
Yeah.
jeans? Yeah.
Yeah.
Big, like, massive, like, all the way down to their ankles holes in jeans kind of thing.
For sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
weird. Okay. Listen, he's also freshly decanted. Not to be mistaken for Dolly the sheep, he's Darcy, the DNA-having Hudson.
Having. We all have DNA. I feel like it's a
That's like a come up
it's a
with.
low bar qualifier for me right there. I'm human. I'm a thing.
You
Wow,
have
okay.
DNA, some pretty good DNA, I would say. You know, that's some good DNA you got.
Yeah. No, I like it.
Yeah.
I like me, I guess.
Yeah. Well, speaking of liking yourself, before we get into this review, I wanted to ask you guys if you could clone yourselves and live with yourselves, would you want to?
I don't know. I don't think so.
No?
Yeah.
I might get annoyed with myself.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. It could be a very enlightening experience, right? To kind of,
Become
then
the
you-
best version of yourself in that
Right.
sense.
Sure.
But then you
Sure.
have to end it. You got to take out yourself, you know.
Sure.
You got to
There
fight
was that-
yourself.
Do you guys remember that movie with Michael Keaton where he kept cloning himself?
No.
So that he could actually do more things and be a better father and a better husband.
Oh, I want to watch it. I don't
yeah,
know what
it
this
was.
is.
It was so funny. It got to a certain point that one of the clones was just like was not smart at all. I think they did like a low level, like he was on the spectrum kind of thing because the clone went bad. The cloning process went bad.
Multiplicity.
Multiplicity. There you go. That's the movie.
I got vibe like that. That question has made me think of that Paul Rudd Netflix show.
Very short-lived, too,
Yeah,
wasn't it?
It was very
was
delightful.
great.
Paul Rudd acting with Paul Rudd. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it was just
good.
very much he realized that guy was taking the place of his life, and it's like I wouldn't want that happening to me because I feel like
Oh, true.
maybe that
The
would also
clone
be a
would kind of try to
possibility
take
where
over.
they're the better Darcy, and
See,
I'm the only Darcy.
I think exactly what you guys are saying. At first, I thought it would be great because like we could split up responsibilities, but then I feel like we would both be annoyed by each other, but both be so afraid of conflict that we wouldn't ever bring anything up. So like,
Passive
and then
aggressive bomb. waiting
yeah,
to
and
go
then we'd
off.
collectively rag on each other to you, Justin, over the phone. Like, oh, can I talk to you about what other Nate said today? Like, holy crap. And you would just get so annoyed, and then you'd probably end up killing both of us. But but listen, we're having fun. Before we get to the synopsis of this movie, I do want to kind of jump into something a little more serious. We want to pause and remind you listening that we here at Geekcentric support the Writers Guild of America and the Screen Actors Guild and American Federation of Television and Radio Artists as they strike to get the contract they deserve. Without incredible writers and actors, we wouldn't get all the incredible stories that offer at times escapes into fantastic worlds that we love, or heartfelt moments that provide us perspective of people around us, or even mirrors of our own reality that allow us to look inward and reflect on how we can collectively do better. And that's what the WGA and SAG-AFTRA are looking for, studios to do better by them so they can just keep making these stories while supporting their families. And the director of this film, Juel Taylor, this is actually his directorial debut, but he also wrote the movie alongside Tony Rettenmaier. So if you want to support writers like them, as well as actors who help make the things we love, you can do so by checking out the links in our show notes. And a small donation goes a long way to support these people that are just trying to like get a fair, decent wage and fair working conditions, and not have their jobs taken over by by AI. So please definitely check out those links. But let's get to the synopsis of this movie. As I mentioned, written and directed by Juel Taylor, and written by Tony Rettenmaier. This is a movie. The synopsis is rather short for this. A series of eerie events thrusts an unlikely trio onto the trail of a nefarious government conspiracy in this pulpy mystery caper. And the movie stars John Boyega, Teyonah Parris, and Jamie Foxx. It's on Netflix July 21st. Thanks to Netflix for letting us watch this movie early for review. And let's kind of dive right into this. This movie was great. I think talking about its sort of story and style, I think it pulls a lot of its visual style from as well as characters from the Blaxploitation films of the early 70s, in combination with social commentary on communities like the ones that you'd see kind of in our own real world. I really enjoyed it was a little bit head scratching. It adds to the mystery because you've got characters that are talking like they're from the 70s. They're dressing like they're from the 70s, but then they bring up SpongeBob, Obama, or Bitcoin, right? And they use iPhones, and then there's like retro futuristic computers throughout the movie. So like right off the bat, I think the vibe from this movie and sort of the style was really heavily apparent.
Yeah, it feels like it's a mashup, right? Like it feels like it's a total mashup of all the genres of blaxploitation with sci-fi, little conspiracy thriller in there, sprinkles of comedy as well. But you're right, like the vibe and look was very 70s. Like even the gritty grain of the visuals. Like I don't think that this was shot on film, but obviously there's the implications in the style of the look of the picture that does speak very much to film in that gritty nature. So I think you're absolutely right. Like I think they just blend it all together to tell a refreshingly new and different story that I was absolutely surprised by.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. You guys both mentioned vibe already. This whole movie is a vibe, and I was digging it from the first scene. Basically, it was so good. I loved it. I can't wait to talk more about this because everything. The main three characters, the cast was incredible. John Boyega, Teyonah Parris, and Jamie Foxx were incredible. They stole the show, and the banter between them was so enjoyable, and I couldn't wait to find out more of the mystery through their eyes. It was so good.
Well, and I think it's that continuous dialogue and the way that they're sort of constantly going back and forth at each other, especially Teyonah Parris's character and Jamie Foxx as Slick Charles. I think that also helps the pacing of the movie as well because they're kind of living from moment to moment pretty seamlessly, and I think it's great because it sort of puts us into the exact time frame in which Fontaine starts spiraling down this sort of rabbit hole of discovery. And it's nice because we get enough from understanding where they came from and sort of where they're going that being placed right in the middle of that story it just felt really, really well done.
Well, it's interesting too because the Jamie Foxx and Teyonah Parris are playing very much characters of exaggerated versions of a pimp and a hoe.
Yeah.
And it's, and this day and age, how does that really play in film? Honestly, they confidently wear these roles and have fun with it. And I think Teyonah Parris's Yo-Yo was outstanding. I loved her ability to kind of get into the mystery and bring up the Nancy Drew, who obviously is a white little girl who's solving mysteries. And I just think it's interesting that while she grew up, that was sort of her role model, if you will, and I use air quotes around that. But yeah, the idea of Yo-Yo and Jamie, and Slick Charles kind of adding a dynamic in and around Fontaine, played by John Boyega. I think that really worked, right? Because they added the complexities of adding dimension to the story in both a way of furthering the overall plot, but also serving as a bit of comedy, right? Some of their comedy was great. I haven't laughed so hard at Teyonah Parris. I haven't seen her in much other than WandaVision, and obviously coming soon will be the Marvels. But like it was such great casting, and I just love that they all just kind of own their role, because like even John Boyega is playing a drug dealer. You know what I mean? These are all very stereotypical roles that would often be sort of casted in old Hollywood to black people, right? Like in some cases they would, and that's sort of the thing that we've gotten past, is that, we don't racially you don't racially cast these roles, right? So I think that what's interesting here is that they wear it confidently, because at the end of the day, it is about this world and this point of view during a very specific perspective in a community that matters the most.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I think, you mentioned Teyonah Parris and her comedy chops. I had no idea that she could be this funny. I've never seen her in a comedy before. I think she steals the show for a lot of this movie, and I couldn't stop smiling every time she was on screen. I think, Jamie Foxx is what you'd expect from Jamie Foxx as far as on-screen charm and humor. But it's when Teyonah Parris and Jamie Foxx are on screen together that I think equal the biggest laughs in this movie. And I think for John Boyega, I think, he's very intimidating at first as Fontaine. But I love that they also gave his character a lot of depth, showing him in moments of sadness, but then there's also lighter moments between him and this kid named Junebug, where you kind of get an idea of the relationship that he had with his, younger brother, which the movie establishes has passed on pretty early in the film. I think it's in the trailers. I don't think that's a spoiler, but the idea being that, you do get to sort of still explore that relationship, but between him and another character, I think was really, really smart in terms of how they were able to show his softer side.
Yeah, they were all amazing. That's really you guys have kind of highlighted why they were so good. So I'm not going to be a broken record and repeat anything here.
Well, I will say, beyond the cast, I think we were talking about the vibe earlier as well. I think there's a very specific tone throughout the movie that the director focuses on during the first 30 minutes that showcases stereotypical products that are just pushed through every corner of like this movie. There's ads for brands that don't really exist, that were done in a way that just has you really sort of really scratching your head as to what's going on. And I think what's really fun with these style of movies is that, and it's very apparent in this one, you can go back and rewatch this movie and you're going to catch a lot of, literally writing on the wall foreshadowing of ads in the background, or missing persons flyers, or certain lines of dialogue from characters that you might just sort of overlook. Like if you do watch this a second time, turn on those subtitles, because there's a lot of stuff that's just in the dialogue, and even in some of the music that I think is really fun to sort of catch the second time you watch it.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it's all layered in as a nice mystery, right? So that upon second viewing, like you said, you can see a lot of those clues that were hinted at early on. And I think that's smart writing and smart placement and pacing of the story, to kind of give those hints and to see if people are going to catch on early. So yeah, I think that, Juel Taylor has done an outstanding job here, not just, bringing life to this story that feels refreshingly different, but also just giving it a confidence that it deserves. It doesn't really toe in one style of genre. It's blending it all together to make its own genre, right?
Yeah. I mean, one of the like opening or hype lines I read before watching this movie was the fact that it was going to be a genre busting blaxploitation mystery film, and immediately I'm like, I am so confused about what that means, and I can't wait to hop on this crazy train. And it was, again, it's so engrossing, I guess, or like you find yourself wanting to find out more because it is so fresh, like you're saying. And in a time where we're getting reboots after reboots, sequels for the umpteenth time, this fresh story really hits home so much harder because it is a new thing at this time, and it's an homage to what came before while also blowing open the doors for what could come next. And I love it.
And I think exactly what you're saying there, Darcy, about going into this and seeing that mix of genres. This movie had the opportunity, thank goodness it didn't, had the opportunity to fall into that trap that I think a lot of these genre mixing movies do, where it might try to do too much. And this does it just it's so
it
perfectly
had enough.
balanced.
Yeah, it had enough of everything to kind of to mix in, and it never lost itself fully into any one part of it. Maybe towards the end, as we start to unravel things, does it sort of lean hard into sort of that part of or that genre style of the unraveling. But at the end of the day, because of how hooked and engaged you are in the mystery and the story, it has to feel satisfying, and it did. I honestly think that it was great how it kind of unfolds for you.
And I think I just want to give one more shout out to the composers, Pierre Charles and Desmond Murray, as well as Felipe Pierre and Stephanie Diaz-Matos, who did the music supervision, because the score pulls from that 70s funk, but then it's blended with like sci-fi hums and synth sounds, and then there's a way that they use music similarly in a way that they design the sort of the world, or I guess they call it the Glen, which is the fictional community that they live in. But they use the music in a way that sort of it's very stereotypical, but then there's a twist. And it serves the plot in a very purposeful way, which is the best way I think I can say that without giving anything away. But it's so, like, just going back and listening back to it, it's so clever, and it's such a really smart way to kind of put in these the overarching message into this movie without sort of doing it just to do it. It services the overall story. So
it serves the story, but it also is self-referential to the genre that genres that it's referencing. Because I think the funk vibe really hits home, the Blaxploitation style, and that sort of that 70s era, if you will. Even though we're in a more current time, it feels like we're in the past. And I think the music is a perfect example of kind of, again, much like what the movie's doing, blending a lot together, a lot of different types of genres to help tell something new. I think the music is almost its own character that helps kind of guide the narrative in a lot of ways.
Absolutely. And then there's, because we're keeping things spoiler free, I won't say who it is, but there is one more character that I was shocked to see them, a specific actor, show up. And I'm just going to leave it at that, so that when you see the movie, you'll also be like, whoa, they're in this movie? So
he's not in the trailer, right?
No.
Yeah. Okay.
He is on the cast. If you check IMDb, you can find him there.
Yes.
Yeah.
But he's not in any trailers.
No, he's not in any trailers. But it was definitely a surprise. It was definitely a surprise.
Yeah.
And I loved it. Right. And I'll just say he's Canadian. So that's all we'll say.
All right, we're giving too much away already. But he's not nice like Canadians. Anyways, okay, there we go. So let's get to our final thoughts and score for this movie, which we're going to be rating on a scale of 1 to 5 cloned Tyrones. And Darcy, we're going to start with yourself.
Again, I loved it start to finish. The fact that they were managed to go so hard into this genre and do a deep dive where it makes you feel like you're back in the 70s, but updated and fresh and blending all these other genres in. It was such a fun ride, and I hope that we get more, because this guy knows how to write a story that's engaging and fresh and clearly has the satisfying payoff that we're all looking for from these mystery movies, if you will. So this one is a solid 5 out of 5 cloned Tyrones, because I want more. I would watch it again in a heartbeat, and I can't wait to show it to my friends.
Very cool.
Nice.
Yeah, I think it's, what's funny about this is, as you were saying, you want more. I'm thinking, like, I could both be perfectly okay with just this movie and more of these stories in this world, because I think it definitely is I think they could pull it off, but at the same time I'd also be fine if it was just this at the same time. I don't
100%.
know. Yeah.
100%.
Justin, how about yourself?
Well, like we were saying, They Cloned Tyrone confidently blends Blaxploitation genre with the sci-fi conspiracy thriller genre and sprinkles in a little comedy to deliver a refreshingly unique story centered around systemic racism. The narrative explores thought-provoking themes, expertly weaving social commentary into an engaging and thrilling plot with stellar performances, as we mentioned, from John Boyega, Tiona Paris, and Jamie Foxx. And it has a very thoughtfully crafted screenplay, and it's an absolute surprise and delight film that I think pushes the boundaries of storytelling while shedding light on pressing real world issues. I think Juel Taylor brings to life this story that feels inspired by the films of the past, very from an aesthetic standpoint and from a genre standpoint, to tell a new story that is unique and I think very personal as well. I think people should be checking out this movie, and it's not perfect. Like I was saying, like towards the end in the wrap up, as we kind of unravel things, it is, it's all made clear. It might be a little heavy-handed, kind of suffering from that third act thing where it's kind of rushing to get to the end.
It has a rush to the finish, yeah.
Yeah, it definitely has a rush to the finish, which again, I think it's just because this movie is trying to say so much. But that said, it does it really confidently. It believes in what it's doing. It doesn't necessarily linger into one genre too much. It's a beautiful blend of everything, and I think it has a little bit of everything for everyone, and I honestly believe many people like myself are going to be surprised about how relevant and often comedic and meta this movie can be. So for that, I'm going to be giving this movie a 4 out of 5 cloned Tyrones.
I'm kind of right there with you, Justin. I think I think the biggest reason to watch this movie is the cast. Followed very closely by its complementary score and narrative. I think the setting and the story that, as you mentioned, is building from or borrowing from films of the 70s that it's emulating, it is fantastic. But the movie still delivers a modern moral message on social issues and classism, and it's just all wrapped up in this surreal science fiction government conspiracy mystery movie, which is such a mouthful, but at the same time, it's a mashup. It's perfectly mashed up. It's perfectly chewed up, and I absolutely really enjoyed this first go for Juel Taylor. I'm gonna give They Cloned Tyrone a solid 4 out of 5 cloned Tyrones.
I will say, you guys were mentioning, wanting to see more of this story. I think there could be potential for that and exploring more of the conspiracy. But I'm also just really interested in seeing more of Juel Taylor.
Yes,
telling his
that's
stories.
More I'm looking forward to.
I think
story he can tell next.
Exactly. I think he has, like, especially from this, not to borrow from Quentin Tarantino, but I think where Quentin Tarantino may exploit a lot of different genres to help tell his story, where Juel Taylor gets it right is that he's borrowing and mixing to tell something new. And I think that's a bit of its own unique novelty to Juel and what he can do. And again, if it always goes hand in hand to have a great writer with a visionary director that work together, and if it's the same person, that's great. But, again, he's a writer, and this is why, these writers deserve the credibility, and this is why these performers deserve, because without the words and the performances, we wouldn't be sitting here talking about how impactful this movie was, right? We wouldn't be here. So, again, I think Juel Taylor killed it, and I look forward to seeing more stories from him, whether we come back to the They Cloned Tyrone world or not. But there is that option, because it's very Jordan Peele. Maybe even that's another reference. Maybe he's a very Jordan Peele, get like a little bit of like Get Out meets Atlanta is kind of like what you would mix this movie. So I think that, he's on the right track to have his own voice and his own vision. So all power to Juel.
Absolutely. But that is it for this spoiler-free review for They Cloned Tyrone. We hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, make sure to subscribe to us wherever you like to listen to podcasts, if you haven't already. And if you want to write into the show with your thoughts on this movie or any of the series or movies that we cover, well, let me just send you down a secret elevator over to Justin, who might be a clone, so he can let you know how you can reach us.
Ding! They can reach us at wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. That's wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. Or they can reach out to us on Twitter @geekcentricyt or on Instagram @wearegeekcentric. And we are threading. We are on Threads. You can find us there @wearegeekcentric. Also TikTok. Jeez, God, never promote the TikTok. Yeah, we're also on TikTok @wearegeekcentric as well. So
Jeez,
find us everywhere.
Our regular Justin always promotes the TikTok. So I think this one might be a clone, Darcy. But keep in mind, we also have a ton of other episodes covering the latest and greatest movies and shows out now, including our recent spoiler-free reviews for Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1, Netflix's Nimona, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, and The Flash. Plus, we have a ton of great interviews out now, like our most recent interview with the cast and showrunner of Foundation, and our interviews with the cast, directors, and creator of Nimona, which, again, is just another great movie that you should check out on Netflix. So check out those interviews either here on your podcast service of choice or over on YouTube at youtube.com/Geekcentric. We also have our weekly watch club for Secret Invasion going on right now, where we break down each episode and provide our thoughts and theories. So those go out every Friday. We've got 2 more episodes left. I'm intrigued to see where that series goes. Hopefully picks up. And you can join us in our Discord by clicking the link in our show notes to keep the geeky conversation going. We can talk directly with you once you've seen this movie or any of the movies or shows that we cover. Darcy, Justin, thank you so much for joining me for today's spoiler-free cloned review. And as we say, love ya.
Laters.
Peace.